The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Trade Kuzmenko. Come on, enough of this negative Vancouver media. Your Vancouver Canucks are the fourth best team in the NHL right now. And guess what? Their Stanley Cup window is open. Jim Rutherford has confirmed it. More on that next here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, your co-host here of Locked On Canucks, and also a part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the show, we got to thank you, yes, you, for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. It is your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And hey, you might be subscribing for free, but you're helping me feed my family, baby. Let's put some bacon on the table for my son and my daughter. Let's go. I also got to let you know before we get into this episode that today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Coming up on today's episode, let's keep it positive, baby. Because guess what? The Vancouver Canucks, their Stanley Cup window, it's opened up, baby. Jim Rutherford has confirmed it. So we just want to dive into whether or not the Canucks window has actually opened up and give you our thoughts and opinions on that. And also give you some thoughts on, where the Canucks need to be true Stanley Cup contenders. In segment 2, we're going to do a full segment on Comment Corner. Lots of good comments yesterday on our episode about Andrei Kuzmenko and whether or not the Canucks should trade him. And finally going to end off with a little pregame prophecy ahead of tonight's match between the Canucks and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Before we do that, I got to introduce someone who he epitomizes the word lightning. Kylebhawan, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. I'm living, I'm dreaming. I'm talking Vancouver Canucks with my homie Trevor, with the people as well. Yes, with the people. Ironically, off the jump, we already have somebody named Matt. Matt03, the legend, saying trade Kuzmenko for Adam Larson, man. That quick, man. It won't stop, bro. The next Taylor Hall, man. Again, though, I'm doing well. Another day to do this, and another day closer to Christmas, man. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it the holiday season, man. Get your Christmas shopping done early, and you can kind of just enjoy the moment. And what the moment instills is love and family and friends. And for us, hockey games that matter. And this is a really busy week for your Vancouver Canucks. I know only 3 games, and we've played a lot more in previous weeks, but Tampa and Florida, this is intense, bro. This is intense. I like it.
Yeah, and Tampa and Florida, 2 teams who have been in the Stanley Cup Finals recently, right? And that's certainly where the Canucks are trying to get back to. I mean, I think fans would just be happy for them to play a playoff game at home. I've said this on the show before, but last time the Canucks played a home playoff game back in 2015, with fans in the arena, I should say, in 2015. I didn't even live with my wife yet, and now I'm married with 2 kids. So it's been a goddamn long time since the Canucks have played a home playoff game. And, we're going to see it. It's going to happen in about 4 to 5 months from now. But again, I think the Canucks are a playoff team. I think we know that now.
Bro,
but are they a Stanley Cup contender?
I just realized something. You and I, have we ever watched a playoff game together? I know we've been at the rink at the same time, but we've never actually watched one together. That's a damn shame, bro. We're 30 years old, suffering from erectile dysfunction on the daily.
Whoa.
We're up there in age.
Why are you throwing me under the bus there, man?
Hey, man, you don't got to be ashamed, man. We're all in this together, bro.
That's true. Yeah,
honesty is the best policy. Okay, the Canucks, the Stanley Cup window, is it open? I don't know if you have Rutherford's exact comments in front of me. Read them out because this is news to me. I guess I was off the internet yesterday. I don't know what you're talking about. Let me know what Jim Rutherford, the legend, said about your Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, so shout out to Sportsnet's Ian McIntyre. He got Rutherford to crawl out of his hole and do a little media hit, a little Q&A on Sportsnet.com. So Ian McIntyre asked, have the last 2 months accelerated your plans to win? Are you closer to a winning window than you thought you would be? And Rutherford replied, we're closer. But if you remember in that first press conference when I came here, I said there's players here that are better than people think and probably a lot better than they think. And once we got to to the point that our plan was put in place and the system was put in place and the players bought into it and realized playing a certain way could have success, you saw how good these players could be. I actually view the window as just starting to open up because our top players are playing the way they're capable of. But we also now have a good pipeline of players coming. And if those players hit the way we think they're going to hit in the next couple of years, and you have Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson at the age they are, and I believe JT Miller is going to be a good player for a long time, and we have Thatcher Demko at a good age, that window could actually open bigger. Let's go, baby. That's the kind of hype I needed on a Tuesday. And I'm going to agree with Rutherford. And we've said it on the show before, every day is no. The Canucks window is open up right now. And we're not just talking about, the Canucks, playing well here over the next 50 games to get into the playoffs. We're talking about setting themselves up to make a run at winning the Stanley Cup this season. Is it possible this season? Yes. Is it probable? No. This team still has some flaws, but I think there's a lot to like about this team right now, Kyle, and it starts with the core players in place.
And in order for that window to be open for years and years and years, Rutherford has to be exactly right on, I think, his most bold statement, and that's predicting that JT Miller is going to be good for a very long time. That's the big thing. Because if you look at the pipeline, there's no other center there, It's just the truth. You get what I'm saying? Can he do it? I know we've asked this question multiple times throughout the last couple of months. I want the listeners to let us know too. Do you believe that JT Miller can be a really, really elite hockey player offensively and, get better defensively as the years go by up until year 4 or 5 of this contract that he just signed?
Yeah, I actually want to bring up something I saw on Twitter, courtesy of Chester Ming, I believe it was, and he was kind of pushing back at the notion that JT Miller is actually good. Now, I felt like it was cherry picking stats a bit, but it was a good conversation. He brought up some of the MVPs in recent memory or MVP contenders like Pasternak, McDavid, Draisaitl, McKinnon, and pointed out that among these 10 players he listed, JT Miller is the only guy who had a negative expected goals for percentage. Now, I thought that was a bit unfair to JT Miller. Mm-hmm. Just because of the fact that A, he's been thrust into a matchup role. B, he played on a bad team where, relative to the rest of his team, he actually, wasn't the one being cratered necessarily compared to everybody else. So I do think JT Miller can be a really, really solid 2C on a Stanley Cup. In fact, he's playing like a 1C right now. Hell, we bet
he is the 1C. He is the 1C. He is the 1C. It's just the truth. And I look at these stats and I get it and I understand where people could come from. But I think when you're pulling stats regarding the Vancouver Canucks and their players over the last couple of years, you kind of have to ironically throw that out the window because there was no structure here. There was chaos everywhere, especially on how they were implementing what their players should do within the hockey games. It's just the truth. Now, I'm curious to know who on the Vegas Golden Knights, who on the Colorado Avalanche, who on the Tampa Bay Lightning weren't fancy stat darlings, but played huge roles in getting the ring to their city. Because I don't care what the fancy stats say. JT Miller has been the best Canuck all season. He's been one of the best players in the league for a team that's doing really well. JT Miller is a lot better than your favorite hockey player, most likely. He is so damn good at playing this game. It's just the truth. And this is when I have a problem, trying to bring fancy stats into my life and holding it up on a pedestal / comparing it to what my eyes are telling me. Because I don't care what the stats say. JT Miller is a hockey player that I want on my team any day of the week. It's just the truth.
Yeah, and I think as we talk about the Canucks and their Stanley Cup window opening, JT Miller is built for playoff hockey. And I think, you look at some of his comparables in terms of his trajectory, like Blake Wheeler, maybe even best case Joe Pavelski. This guy should have another 5-6 years of being at an elite level if his health keeps up. So I do think JT Miller is a big part of the Canucks now entering the Stanley Cup contender conversation. But yeah, there's definitely red flags still, right? The defense is a work in progress. We've talked about that. But Kyle, I did want to mention something quickly when you talk about players who didn't have the best fancy stats. Like on Colorado, it was guys like Andrew Cogliano and Darren Helm, like those veteran fourth line guys who you look at the numbers possession wise, they got cratered in. But they played a good role in the locker room. And I think, multiple Colorado Avalanche players talked about how Andrew Cogliano was like a motivating force in that dressing room. I don't know if the Canucks have that guy in their bottom six necessarily, but I do think you look at the bottom six forward makeup and depth does matter in the playoffs. And I think it's a combination of the Canucks having that star power at the top of their lineup, but depth that can play as well. And when you strike that balance, and I don't know if the Canucks are quite there. I think they're there in the forward group. I don't think they're there on defense yet. But they're getting close to really melding star power and depth, and that's what really makes us a true Stanley Cup contender.
And look, Jim Rutherford is not only a vet, he's a legend. Look at how many rings he has, right? And he's brutally honest. I don't think he's crawling out of this hole slash, taking a time away from his hiatus with the media to lie about the Vancouver Canucks. He'd probably, be constructive about it at the least. Maybe not as harsh as he was in years past, but he'd be constructive. AKA, he wouldn't lie. So if he's saying that he actually sees this window open, that's a huge vote of confidence. It really is. And it's not hard to see why he would say that. And it has to do, again, with the elite talent. Now, what he has to say about the pipeline and the players coming up, I think there's still a lot of work that has to be done. But again, the Vancouver Canucks, as mentioned so many times on this program, and I hope you're carrying this swagger, okay, on the West Coast, the best coast of Canada. Your hockey team is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. And we can talk about the top four guys, but look at Brock Besser and look at Philip Hronek. It's just the truth. This team is actually stacked, and there's a recipe there for something lucky to happen, and that's winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, let's go. As long as those guys continue to play at a high level. And again, curious to see what happens on defense here. I know one other interesting quote from Rutherford is that they've liked the progression of Noah Juleson. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. You need to find someone else better than Juleson if you want to be a true Stanley Cup contender. No offense to Juleson. He is a BC bud after all.
No, one guy. Just get better, bro. And this whole Noah Juleson thing, I know we spent a lot of time on it, but if we want to put only good voodoo out in the air, if there's such a thing as good voodoo, Noah Juleson is not playing any hockey games for this team when everyone is healthy. You get what I'm saying? Carson Soucy doing his thing, getting implemented. We will see a lot less from Noah Juleson. I do want to get to some of these comments too. We might as well do this, right? A window looks to be 80% open for about the next 3 to 4 years. I don't know what 80% open means, man. If it's open, it's open. And JT Miller will be good for the first 4 years of this deal. The last 3, don't worry me. Dude, just eat your vegetables, take your AG1, right? Make good love, feel young forever. It's possible.
Yeah, AG1's got to hop back on board as a sponsor, before I start giving them some free shout outs. But I think what Chris means by that 80% open is that, again, paraphrasing Chris again, thanks for commenting. I think it means the Canucks, are a Stanley Cup contender, but they're not one of the top Stanley Cup contenders. That's kind of how I read it. And I would probably agree with that notion, especially right now. Let's hope that they are one of the top contenders in a couple of seasons from now. Although, what does that even really mean? Because, parity is crazy in the NHL, and Carolina and Edmonton, 2 teams currently outside of the playoff picture, were your number 1 and 2 contenders, according to betting odds, entering the season. I'm curious about if Andrei Kuzmenko is going to be a part of this Stanley Cup contending core in the years ahead. And we'll talk about him in segment 2, because there's a wide variety of comments about Kuzmenko and whether the Canucks should trade him or not. Before we do that, I got to shout out Sleeper, baby. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Andrei Kuzmenko could score 50 goals. The Canucks could hoist the Stanley Cup. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is my number 1 choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash. What? In daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Teddy Bluger, Pius Suter, or Nils Amon will record more or less in their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Canucks fans. You could win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability.
Okay, you're back on this Canucks conversation about your Vancouver Canucks. Man, oh man, Locked On Canucks giving you that West Coast bias every day. My name is kylebhawan, and that right there is Trevor Bags. I just gave a shout out to Canucks conversation, ironically, It is what it is. Faber, man. Yo, Faber's got to get down to the nitty gritty, okay? He's working for the Vancouver Canucks. Let us know if Kuzmenko is still eating bananas / drinking Pepsi on the bench, okay? And if he's not, do us all a favor and give him that juice. Am I right, Trevor? I think I am right. He's got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it would. That's when he was having his most success, right? And I think he was taking some Twix bars from the fans at one point as well. I mean,
Dude.
Whatever he's got to do to feel that mojo, man.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Stop trying to make Kuzmenko into something he's not. It's okay. He just got here. It's like 14 months, 15 months of playing in the NHL. Relax. You get what I'm saying? Let him have some fun. And we're going to get to more of that in a couple of minutes. Some of these comments regarding Andrei Kuzmenko. But first, I want to go to the chat because, dude, I'm seeing a lot of things, okay? Aaron, again, the inventor of Club 16 in Surrey. He's talking about Jacob Vrana, former Washington Capital. He's bounced around, and now he's on waivers. The Canucks don't have the cap space to make him a part of the team, but is that something that you'd be interested, Trevor?
Yeah, I would probably no at this point. I mean, I don't have his cap hit in front of me, but like you said, Kyle, the Canucks presumably couldn't afford him. Look, I like the Canucks forward depth, and I think we've seen it in the comments. Shout out to the everydayers leaving those comments. But you got Archie Baines, you got Vasily Podkolzin, like even a guy like Tristan Nielsen. I would like to see one of those guys. I get their feet wet in the fourth line role before I like to see a guy like Jakob Vrana in this lineup.
Jakob. I might name my kid Jakob for real. kylebhawan. Switch it up, man. One love to the world. One more comment off the live chat. Kalen, man, for real. We can replace Kuzmenko with Archie Baines or Podkolzin. I don't believe in that. But this all being said, I did hear Drance talk about something that we kind of talked about yesterday, and that's Pius Suter playing with Kuzmenko very soon, and the possibility of having Podkolzin be called up, and then you have a line of Podkolzin, Pius Suter, and Andrei Kuzmenko. That's interesting. That's interesting. I think so.
Yeah, and again, the Canucks got forward depth right now. You can say all you want about Kuzmenko struggling, and I think this is the first comment I wanted to point out, courtesy of Jeremy Lizotte. On yesterday's episode, he said, quote, "I don't think people realize the effect of getting smoked in the face with a puck, what that can have on a player's ability to play their own game." And he goes on to say, like, it's going to take him a few weeks, okay? Yeah, I was at that game when Kuzmenko took a JT Miller slap shot to the face. Oh, yeah, you were there too. Yeah, you're a few beers deeper than I was.
Dude, but I might have that night too, man.
Yeah, that must have hurt you when you saw that shot, man.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think this guy took a pretty nasty shot at the face. Look, Kuzmenko right now, I mean, people don't want to hear this, but here's he's got 2.26 even strength points per 60 this season. That's still a first line rate. Like, we're talking about a guy struggling. You got Rutherford talking about it now. Kuzmenko is still scoring at a first line rate at even strength. And it's it's reminding me a lot of Besser last season, where it's, a lot of more assists than he had before. He's not having those tap-in goals from Pettersson anymore. He's having to create a bit more. But I do think Kuzmenko is going to bounce back. I said so as much yesterday. Now, some of our other commenters feel otherwise. There's a comment from Briz Chiz who said, "Trade him, please. He doesn't fit. He's too one-dimensional. Need more size and truculence in the playoffs." I think we found Brian Burke's burner. So thanks to Brian Burke and his burner account for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. Kyle, do you think we need more size and truculence?
No, not really. Okay. I think we kind of do, actually. I've been saying it all year long, but not at the expense of Andrei Kuzmenko. You get what I'm saying? This guy scored 39 goals last year. I know you can talk about this was inevitable, the regression. Look at his numbers. Look at that shooting percentage. It was going to go down. Look at that stat that you just brought up. He's still a good hockey player, man. He's just a little sad right now. Hence why I think Chris Faber needs to deliver him a box of Pepsi, straight up, dude. slip it in the water bottles, man. Do us a favor. Okay? Favor. I like that. Do us a favor and sneak Kuzmenko that juice, man. It's just the truth, man. It's just the truth. What else you got? I barely read the comments yesterday.
Yeah, well, I'll bring up this one too. We had a commenter mention, Bridges mentioned that Kuzmenko is too one-dimensional. Then Red Risotto wanted to take a shot at Besser and said Besser's one-dimensional. He's being spoon-fed this year. Trade Besser while he has some value. He also kind of went on a rip Kuzmenko as well. And so, yeah, Red Risotto is not a big fan of Besser or Kuzmenko. What were your thoughts on that, Kyle? The
Dude, I
comment
hated that comment, and I like Red Risotto. That dude's a good commenter, man. No, he's got opinion, strong. You're entitled to your own opinion, but when Risotto's commenting things like that, I'm gonna have to take a shot at your hockey knowledge. / Are you even watching the games? Because Brock Besser is not being spoon fed. Like, watch him tonight. Watch him against Florida in a couple days. Watch the film from the previous games. This guy's battle rate is on another level right now. And he's more of a complete hockey player. And he talked about this on After Hours, right? Dude, this guy barely took time off. Normally he took a couple months off after the season ended, but this guy went back to a gym on May the 1st. He did his thing. He's getting stronger, and he's everywhere on the ice. He's a complete hockey player, not being spoon-fed. And I don't like that comment. I don't know if you're just trying to spew out some negativity, or again, maybe he doesn't have glasses right now. You get what I'm saying? Or if he's just watching the highlights. Because I know some people don't have the time to watch all the games, but Brock Besser is a complete hockey player, and I got to have the guys back because I want to trade this guy for a 4th-round pick last year. Yo, you could have had Brock Besser for anything because this team was so desperate for cap space. There's a world, think about this, Canucks fans, and let us know in the comments below / the live chat right now how you feel about this. This may scare you because it's the truth. There's a world where your Vancouver Canucks traded Brock Besser for a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick and kept OEL for 1 more year.
Ooh. Oh, that's dark, man. That's
Dude,
dark.
am I lying, though? Am I lying?
I still think they would have bought out OEL, to be honest with you. I'm not 100% convinced on that, but I just think that the Canucks saw a guy in OEL. Even Jim Rutherford said in his article this morning that, OEL is a good player, but at his cap it didn't make any sense to keep him around. So I still think he would have been bought out regardless. And then Kyle, come on, we got to pump our own tires there. You and I were both saying that this needs to happen. This is likely to happen. What most Canucks media was saying, this is not going to happen. In terms of Besser being one-dimensional, yeah, I mean, I think his defensive game has improved. I think it's easy to fix it on mistakes sometimes with players. Like, I know Besser in that Wild game in particular had a couple of bad defensive plays. But in general, this guy's pretty smart in his own end. And in terms of the offensive zone, he's scoring from all over the ice. It's not just Besser whipping it in with the wrist shot anymore. He's getting most of his goals from banging and crashing around the crease, which I think is a big step in the right direction for Brock Besser.
Dude, you know what I did the other night? You know what I did the other night, late at night? Dude, I stopped watching those other websites. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? Rhymes with corn tub, okay? I'm no longer going on those websites, right? I got hockey highlights to watch, okay? And I spent a lot of time watching old Brock Besser highlights from college and his rookie year. And I think we saw it in spurts this season so far where he's been kind of aggressive and hogging the puck and shooting more. And I don't know if we've completely seen that over the last 4 or 5 games. I remember there was that stretch he played against Seattle, and there was another game where he just had 50 chances. I think it was Seattle and San Jose. He just kept hogging the puck. I want to see that again from Brock Besser during this stretch against 2 good teams in Tampa and Florida. Dude, be dynamic. You've been good the whole season. You've been our best goal scorer, one of the best goal scorers in the league. But I would love to see him be more aggressive for longer periods of time with the puck on his stick. Because that shot is something else. Go back to the rookie highlights. That shit was turning me on, man. I'm not going to lie. Oops.
It is a family program, but once in a while we gotta let the potty mouth free.
My bad.
One more comment here before we get to the pregame prophecy here on Locked On Canucks, your team every day. One of the commenters said that the Canucks should trade Kuzmenko to Calgary for Tanev along with a 3rd-round pick. So Kuzmenko and a 3rd to Calgary for Chris Tanev. Kyle, how did you feel about that request?
Damn. Okay. Unless we can replace Kuzmenko and that skill, I don't like it. I don't like it because we've seen it recently. Look at what happened to PDG. I'm not going to put that curse on Sam Lafferty, but you know what I'm saying, bro? I think it's easier to win when you keep your good hockey players. And I think there's another way to get Chris Tanev or a player like that. And it doesn't have to involve, I think, a position or a type of player where you're kind of not in surplus of, that dynamic skill. This guy scored 39 goals last year, 39 goals. And again, at some points, he had unbelievable chemistry with Elias Pettersson, the other best Canuck player on your team. And I'm sorry, Jay, okay? This guy got mad at me for swearing. I know. Jay, man, how come you never call Trevor out when he's swearing?
Shout out to Jay and all the listeners here on Locked On Canucks. We're nothing without you guys. I'm going to say this quickly and then get to break. Kuzmenko for Tanev straight up. That kind of intrigues me. I'm not going to lie, because the Stanley Cup matters. The defense needs to improve. And yeah, just, again, we're talking about a winger for right shot D. Again, I'm, a 39 goal, 27-year-old for a 34-year-old right shot D. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm intrigued by that if the Stanley Cup matters for your Vancouver Canucks. That's what the Canucks being Stanley Cup contender. But on the other side, we'll talk a bit about the game tonight between the Canucks and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Before we do that, I got to shout out eBay Motors, baby. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, oh baby, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Bum, bum, bum. Okay, we're back on Locked On Canucks. My name is kylebhawan. That right there is Trevor Beggs. Apparently a dude who never swears. Yo, Jay, you don't even know the type of guy Trevor is before, he met me. Okay, straight up, yo. There was rumors back in the day that Trevor Beggs in Surrey stole from an old brown lady, okay? A box of samosas, okay? I didn't say it. Somebody else did. But he's a changed man, okay? You should have seen Trevor's hair before. Trevor, you need to bring up an old photo of yourself, okay? Okay, guy was like from Good Charlotte or something, okay? He's a different guy. Anyways, man. Again, my name's Kyle. That's Trevor. Shout out to everyone watching the show, listening to the show. Hey, if you're listening to the show on a podcast platform, you can DM us, okay? At Locked On Canucks and get involved in the conversation. We got a couple minutes left in the show, and we're going to predict some things that may go on against this Tampa Bay Lightning team who's, I know they've been quote unquote mediocre this season, if you want to call it that, but they're still elite. And we always talk about us having the best players in the league, right? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Kucherov is probably that guy, and we're playing him tonight.
Yeah, I feel like Nikita Kucherov is starting to take over the Hart Trophy race discussion. Now, I mentioned last week, everydayers know that JT Miller was, my choice for the Hart candidate among Vancouver Canucks. Quinn Hughes is right up there too. And I think Elise Pettersson can get back in that conversation. But you look at the 1-2 in scoring right now. Kucherov is first in NHL scoring with 47 points in 28 games. He is 7 points ahead of JT Miller, who was in sole possession of second overall in NHL scoring with 40 points in 28 games. Now, the Canucks have done a little bit of win-loss recently until they got back-to-back wins against the Minnesota Wild and Carolina Hurricanes. I think the Canucks are going to keep it rolling tonight. Now, Tampa Bay, not an easy opponent, have not been playing their best hockey this season, so I think they'll be hungry. But look, sometimes the tide just got to change, okay? The Canucks have lost 7 straight games to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've won once against the Tampa Bay Lightning in their last 10 contests against them. They have not beat the Tampa Bay Lightning since October of 2018. This is a different Canucks team against a Tampa Bay Lightning team that, isn't at their peak anymore. It's time for the tides to turn. And I do think, Brock Besser is going to get a bingo on the power play tonight. He scored a couple times against the Tampa Bay Lightning recently. And I think the Canucks eke out a victory at Rogers Arena tonight.
Predict the score, man. I'm going to say 5-1. I'm always saying big numbers, man, because I love my boys, okay? For real. I got mad love for those men. It's just the truth, okay? Your Vancouver Canucks. And, I want to say something, okay? I don't want to call out Red Risotto the whole show. I think he had a comment, too, talking about how the Canucks have been, getting exceptional goaltending, and that's why we're here. Bro, come on. Come on, dog. I think a big reason why we've gone, 8-7 in our last 15 games is because we actually haven't gotten, exceptional goaltending. It's kind of been middle of the road. And last time I checked, I'm pretty sure, you can check me if I'm wrong, I think Demko's allowed 35 goals in his last 11 starts, 12 starts, something amongst those lines. So, yeah, he's been good and he's made some key saves and he's a lot better than most of the other goalies he faces, which is a luxury, but there's still a lot of room for him to get back to that elite status. And maybe that happens tonight against Tampa Bay. Maybe he only allows one goal after Tampa gets 36 shots on net because Tyler Myers is playing 18 minutes a game and Noah Juleson is playing 15 minutes a game, Like, maybe Demko keeps it solid, keeps it clean the whole way through.
Yeah, I think he's bound for a turnaround at some point here. Now, again, the Canucks keeping those high danger chances to a minimum is making his life easier, although it hasn't shown up on the stat sheet. But one thing I'm looking at right now, and it's at possession when the game is tied. And Tampa Bay, 5th overall in the NHL in terms of shot attempts when the game is tied. Vancouver is 3rd last in the NHL at shot attempt differential when the game is tied. So I'm hoping the Canucks can get off to a strong start like they did in Carolina, because I think too many times we've seen recently the Canucks start slow and then pick it up as the game goes on. I want to see the team start quick tonight. That would be a key to the game from Beggsy.
Okay. Well, have fun. If you're going to the game, have fun. If you're watching the game, have fun and believe, man. Manifest that victory. Good vibes only. And thanks for sticking around for today's episode of Locked On Canucks. We're trying to work this through, okay? Trying to do this live thing. Got a couple troubleshooting issues. It is what it is, but I guarantee by January 1st or 2nd that this is going to sound and look like the greatest Canucks podcast that is 30 minutes long of all time. My name is kylebhawan, and that right there is Trevor Beggs, and he's about to sign you out. Peace.
Hey, enjoy the game tonight, Canucks and Lightning. We got you covered on everything that happens in tonight's contest on the next episode of Locked On Canucks. Again, appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, whether you're an everydayer, an occasional listener, a first-time listener, or a new subscriber. Oh my God, the new subscribers. Man, we love each and every one of you, your family, and your dogs too. Again, going to cover everything that happens in the Lightning Canucks game. And later this week, want to take a look at what low-cost defenseman could the Canucks target now that Ethan Bear is off the Canucks radar. But that's up for another day. For now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's kylebhawan, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Trevor, man, stop stealing samosas from brown ladies, man, for real.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.